pure blackout. Every trim piece gone dark. Red LED letters are the only color left. Underneath that blackout theme sits a screen Chevy has never put on a factory Silverado. A live readout most owners would expect only from a tuner's laptop plugged into the OBD port. And I'm not explaining what it tracks yet. Stay with me, because it changes how you think about a diesel built this dark. As for whether $98,000 makes sense for a blackout package, my answer depends entirely on whether you tow heavy with this truck or just want it to disappear into a parking garage. We're covering the exterior, stepping into that cabin, then getting into real numbers. But first, the backstory, because this build didn't start as another off-road trim at all. Most people are staring at the total blackout and red LED script. That's not the point. What matters is the screen showing live power curve graphs, not a static spec sheet. Every rival's infotainment shows a fixed horsepower number and calls it done. Chevy built a real-time performance readout instead, so you watch torque delivery happen instead of trusting a brochure figure. Live dyno readout. Onboard sensors graph power and torque curves in real time on the main screen during hard acceleration. The logic is simple. A number on a spec sheet tells you nothing about how power arrives. It closes the gap between advertised output and what the engine is doing under your right foot. Step inside, where that same philosophy shows up again. That tone-on-tone black leather with a debossed bow tie instead of contrast stitching isn't standard high country fare. The shadow-on-shadow effect reads closer to a Range Rover SV carbon black cabin than a mainstream Chevy. The ergonomic call worth naming, Chevy kept physical toggle switches below the screen even in full blackout instead of going full touch panel. That's correct. You still find controls by feel in the dark. Ram's limited night edition went the touch panel route and lost that tactile feedback entirely. Adaptive power lighting. The cabin's ambient strip shifts brightness in real time based on live torque output from that same dyno readout. The reasoning is simple. A blackout cabin needed one functional signal, not just mood lighting. It ties the interior's only visual accent directly to what the engine is actually doing. Now, here's what I actually think. That all-black switchgear is genuinely harder to find in bright daylight glare. Ram's contrast-trimmed buttons are easier to locate at a glance. The exterior is where this competitive intent becomes obvious. The brief wasn't to build another off-road trim. Chevy already had ZR2 covering that ground. It was to answer Ram's limited night edition directly, in the one place Chevy had never offered a full blackout package, its own heavy-duty diesel lineup. That's not a press release detail. That's the actual competitive math behind this build. Every panel on this truck traces back to that specific gap. Start at the grille. Deep-set mesh with Chevrolet spelled out in raised block lettering, one of the only bright elements Chevy left untouched. A functional hood vent pulls heat off the engine bay under sustained load. The black multi-spoke wheels sit on all-terrain tires wide enough to clear the stance without flaring the fenders further. Every piece of bright work elsewhere, mirrors, door handles, badging, got the same blackout treatment, not just the grille and wheels most packages stop at. Move to the rear, and that red LED Chevrolet script becomes the single accent against an otherwise all-black tailgate. This design holds up because the blackout is total, not partial like most packages. Under the hood, the story gets serious. Engine: Duramax 6.7-liter turbo diesel V8, 470 horsepower, 975 pound-feet of torque, Allison 10-speed automatic, 4-wheel drive. In real conditions, that's enough low-end torque to pull a loaded trailer without the transmission searching for gears on a grade. Photochromic trim coating. The blackout plastic and trim pieces use a UV-stabilized coating that resists the gray fade competitors' blackout packages develop within a few years of sun exposure. The logic closes a real gap. Ram's limited night edition trim is known to gray noticeably by year 3. This eliminates that fade without needing repainted trim down the road. Ram's limited night edition still wins on interior touch panel polish, no argument there. Ford's Platinum Black counters with more standard luxury features, but neither touches every piece of bright work this build does. The engineering case is closed. The financial one is next. Now, here's what I actually think. Completely straightforward. Every single decision on this build traces back to that Ram fight. The dyno readout exists because Chevy needed to prove diesel performance rather than just claim it in a brochure. And the switchgear trade-off exists because going total blackout came with a genuine visibility cost in bright daylight. Expect this configuration to land right around $98,000. Ram's own limited night edition on a comparable heavy-duty diesel starts in similar territory but doesn't touch every single piece of bright work the way this build does. For context, the real 2026 Silverado 3500 HD High Country this trim builds on starts closer to $94,000, so the total blackout treatment and dyno readout technology account for a modest premium here, not a dramatic one. On residual value, factory-differentiated diesel trims with genuine mechanical distinction have historically held value better than dealer-installed blackout kits, since the coating and hardware carry a manufacturer warranty a wrap job never will. If you actually tow heavy on a regular basis and want total blackout without a wrap shop involved, this is the smarter buy. If touch panel polish matters more than tactile switches, Ram's limited night gives you more of exactly that. Either way, this Silverado genuinely earns its premium through total blackout execution, not just paint. That red LED script from the opening shot, now you know it's the one exception in a truck built to erase every other accent. I'd love your perspective if you've run a Ram Limited Night Edition through a few winters. Does the trim hold its color or gray out like everyone says? Next up, Ram Limited Night versus this Shadow X. $98K for the Silverado Shadow X or $95K for the Ram Limited Night? Drop your call below.